So once I'm satisfied with how my fabric is as far as pressed, I'm going to go ahead and fold my fabric in half on itself because we need to cut 2 of each pattern piece. So I want to keep it on grain, so I'm either going to fold it along the warp or I'm going to fold it along the weft. That way the grain line that we have in the pattern is followed. So we're going to use this as the grain line here. So we can put it either parallel, so warp, or perpendicular, weft. When you're placing your pattern piece, you can also, depending on what your fabric looks like, mine is a pretty chaotic, it looks like very, almost like coral, or very organic. So the placement of my piece may not matter as much, but if you have checkers or stripes, you'll want to think about your pieces, the way you lay them out so that your stripes are all in the same direction. Or if you want, you can have one stripe parallel, perpendicular, and one stripe parallel. So think about that with your design choices. So I'm going to go ahead and fold my fabric in half this way. Again, my pattern is pretty organic and chaotic, so I don't have to worry as much about placement of my pattern pieces. Go ahead and place my mask here for my A. And then again, because it is so chaotic and because B is the inside of the mask, I'm going to go ahead and just place it in the other direction. And that's fine. I'm going to pin my paper to go through both layers of fabric. See how there's 2 layers here? What I like to do, especially with this pattern, is go ahead and pin at the corner, a little diagonal at the corner. The least amount of pins you use, the less distortion there is between the pattern and the fabric, and the truer your cut will be to the actual piece. Some people also prefer laying their pattern on the fabric and then drawing chalk around the edge. That works as well. I find personally that I can move faster if I just pin it. I have pin here, and then I have my other piece, my B. Again, I need 2 of those, so I will pin this on the folded fabric as well. I think 5 pins are probably plenty for this, at least for me. If you are less comfortable with your fabric moving at all and you want to use more, you're welcome to. I suggest when you pin to go ahead, if you're not doing a corner, to pin perpendicular to the cut line, because what that does is reduces the distortion between the fabric and the pattern piece. So I have one little dip here versus if I had it parallel, I'd have a dip at each point that it intersects with the fabric and paper. So I have my pieces pinned like so. I can now take my fabric scissors and cut them out. So I'm going to cut through both sheets of paper, or both pieces of fabric, and I'm going to cut as close to the pattern as I can. Since the pattern piece is already cut out, I don't want to cut the pattern piece. Go ahead and cut like so, so I can release all the extra fabric that I don't need. If you're going to be doing a lot of cutting, I always recommend moving the fabric and not your wrist. Take your time cutting around the curve so you get a nice clean line. take this piece, put it to the side, and now I'm going to go ahead and take this piece and now I have cut my two pieces.